All right, let's go. So this is basically a recap of the last 50 days in which I ran paid ads for my own agency. And I will be showing you in a second here from the laptop the metrics, how much it was spent, what was the cost per click, how many clicks did we have, how many leads, although you'll see that this is harder to measure because there were also IGDMs, there were also forms filled on the website, and then also some calls that were booked, some no-shows, all of that, right? So this will be more so a recap if you don't want to see the whole 50 videos, although I would say in many of them there are golden nuggets. So for example, let me just look real quick. As you can see, I think we even got one more subscriber since yesterday, and I think is actually someone who I worked with in the past, if YouTube showed me the right notification here. But what I want to say is that in some of them you will see that I'm talking about paid ads, about DTC eCom, because this is where I operate. Then also talking about leads, about selling as an introvert or selling in general, about lead nurturing, closing. So many of them might actually get more views over time, who knows. Let me look if there's any outlier here. So as you can see, many of them focus on different things such as IGDMs, targeting UK, targeting Canada. So a lot of testing that's been happening here, right? And that's how you learn, by actually doing things and doing them as fast as possible, I would say. So without further ado, just so we can first look at the metrics and then come back here, let me switch the camera and let's look at the sheet, because everything still works on a sheet, by the way. Just seeing there's an event coming up, a Zoom event. Anyway, with that being said, let's look at the metrics. All right, so now that we're back, let's look at the sheet, and let me actually zoom in here just so you can see it much better. So I have the totals here, and you can see it actually day by day here. So we started at around $15 a day and then ramped it up pretty quickly to 46, 42, 49. And we did get quite a few clicks in the beginning, but I wouldn't say it's as optimized because it took, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 days until we started getting leads. And even those were pretty unqualified, I would say, but as you can see, it did start to pick up after a few days, then 4, 1, 3, 3, 2, and then I saw that there were so many beginners. You see here that there are leads, right? But so many of them are just like starting out, and my service is higher ticket. Usually it starts around 3K. So of course it's not really for everyone. It's not for people who just start off their Shopify store. And that's why I've actually changed the strategy here. So probably at the end of January, around this time, if you look back, you'll probably see I started to target different countries, and then also started with IGDM ads, which I would say worked slightly better because I had more insight. So instead of getting emails and phone numbers from people who then I have a hard time reaching, actually, it was actually slightly better here, where even though you see 0 leads, there were some IGDMs. And something that I've noticed is that Meta does give you slightly better performance in the beginning. And I think that's also because your ad, your message will resonate more in the beginning. So if we look at the ads, if you haven't seen them, let me show you the ads. So there were quite a few ads actually here. You see many ad sets that were tested, and basically you can see them day by day if you want to look at the details. And if we go into this one, right, I did actually test multiple ads. So let's look at this one. If we look at this one, you'll actually see that I had a different style at this point, and it was a style that I think kind of worked. It was doing well, but I also didn't give it as much time, to be fair. So in terms of ads, there were quite a few tests that kind of confirmed that the ads are just one component, but then it's also about you following up and making sure that those people are actually qualified or not. And then seeing if you can actually sell them anything or just give them some free value and then maybe later on work with them. But this is the one that has been working the best and that I've used most. So it's basically a Shopify screenshot, then some text overlay, and then some logos, just to make it really easy for you to understand from the get-go what it is. So coming back here to the metrics, as you can see, the totals for these 50 days, and I think I spent probably $2 today after midnight, but doesn't matter as much. No results from that. And as you can see, overall numbers, so 1.6k in spend, around 49 CPMs because I did target US, 393 clicks, 5.55 cost per click, 48 leads, and this doesn't really include IGDM ads. So this is more or less just people who filled the form or who booked a meeting. And then the cost per result around 43, slightly lower actually if you think about all the IGDM ads as well, and 40k views. So this is something to take into consideration, that you basically pay for the views, for the impressions, and at the same time you can get them through organic, but maybe they are not as qualified. However, in a perfect world you would also have paid and organic because they do help each other, one with trust, another with visibility, and they just help each other, meaning that it's a 1 + 1 = 3. But these are all the numbers overall. So let me just come back here and let's talk face to face, I guess. All right, so now that we're back, let's go over a conclusion here. And as you've seen, you've actually seen each number in there. Of course, I could share even more metrics if necessary, but I would say these are the most important. And what is definitely more important is actually how many qualified leads there were, book calls, and let's say closed deals, right? So let's start with the end. No closed deals from paid ads. Fortunately, I had other things that were running at the same time. Let me move the camera slightly higher here. And I did get multiple calls during the last 50 days, and fortunately did sign one client, and another one is just I would say in the pipeline. And the issue in the e-commerce world is that in most cases someone already works with another agency, grow partner, freelancer, so there is this transition time, right? And this is where I think I can do a better job by actually giving brands or the people on those brands more confidence, or just asking more questions, better questions, because you need to think that it's all on you. And the fact is that someone has to actually lead in all conversations, relationships, companies, right? You do need someone who needs to lead. So it's either you actually are the one who's leading, or you're being led, or if neither of those two people, let's say in a communication, actually lead, it's like nothing will move forward, right? So that's why it's really important to actually be the one who takes the lead in terms of questions, trying to clarify, selling, because I mean it's very tied to this. You could think of leadership as overlapping with sales skills, because just like with anything, actually, if there's no transaction, then the world wouldn't really move, right? This is how we live in a capitalistic world. I've never used that word actually, just because I don't really talk about politics, right? So less of a used word. However, the main thing is that I do see paid ads as a way to actually help you boost visibility and push you out there, right? Because basically, as you've seen, 40k people actually saw my face, my ad, and so on. Some probably scrolled right past, and others actually filled the form, right? So I do have around 40 to 50 emails, if I'm not mistaken. So probably, let me see, 48 emails or so, and phone numbers. Then also a couple of IGDM convos that were started. However, many of them, as I mentioned, are beginners. So it's just like with YouTube. Sometimes you start, but you don't see success until later on. And it's the same here with many of those, let's call them leads, right? Or people, because you don't have success right away. So it might take some time. It might take 3 months, 1 year, 5 years. I mean, who knows when some of these people would actually want to work with me. And in the meantime, like I mentioned, I had other channels that have been working better, and it's always, or almost always, much better when there's some kind of warm intro. Paid ads are, I would say, in between cold and warm, or hot, right? But it's still somewhere there in the middle, because you're still trying to get in front of people, and it's not exactly who you want necessarily. It's who the algorithm to some extent is able to target. So, long story short, would I recommend paid ads? Definitely would, just because not many agencies are doing it. And if you don't have other channels, and if you have enough cash flow, then of course you can actually test it, right? 1.6K for around 50 days is actually, I would say, a mid amount, meaning that it could have been lower, but it could have been way higher as well. It's also because I did want to more so season the pixel here, because I knew there were other channels that I had that were performing better. So there was no actual reason to push paid ads or dedicate too much time to paid ads. So it could have been better for sure. However, there were enough tests. I would say in around 50 days, you can look back as well and try to see the small things that were tested, the results from them. But overall, there were enough learnings, and this is how you actually, let's say, make micro mistakes. And then because you learn them, you can either teach other people or just keep them for yourself if you don't document or don't create content. Although I would almost always recommend to anyone to create content, because there's almost no downside, but there is upside. And yeah, it doesn't take much, right? How many minutes did it take me? 30 minutes plus moving this chair here, 1 more minute, setting the camera, 2 minutes. So more or less, I would say that's it, except the fact that you also have to think about it, right? But it's not as hard if it's just you documenting what you're already doing. So nothing new, just turning on the camera and spitting facts, right? Or truth. So that's pretty much it. We'll see what the next videos will be. I will be flying to Dubai on Sunday, and today is Thursday, so around 2 full days until then. So not sure if I'll be able to really focus on this, because I also need to make sure that the agency, the clients, partners, friends, everyone and everything is all right, right? So YouTube might take a small break here of, who knows, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. But yeah, we'll be coming back and creating more content, maybe even more for e-commerce brands and not as much for agency owners or how to attract clients, right? And like psychology, mindset, and all of that, right? Because we do want to be tactical, look at what's working right now. 2025, we're heading into March, and e-com is not easy, but if you look at what's happening and always adjust, of course it can be better, just because anything can be better. So we'll end with that piece of wisdom, I guess. And until next time, wishing you the best, and peace out.